just love and grace for everyone, for everyone. Yeah, for everyone.
Our gospel this evening comes from Matthew 2, 1 through 12. This is the story of the three kings. Let's listen and hear God's word. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who will be called King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for it has been written by the prophet." They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means among the rulers of Judah, for you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people, Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent to them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also pay homage." When the three wise men heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had hoped to see at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opened their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country on another road. Even at his birth, Jesus was not safe. Even at his birth, Jesus was running. And so the kings brought him gold and frankincense and myrrh, and they also brought the divine, what? Weight? Heft? Recognition? You are king. And also the world's danger, worry, cry. We know from the story that his parents took him to Egypt to be safe, far from Herod. We know that Herod ordered the slaughter of the innocent babes of Bethlehem. To be a leader, friends, is not always safe. To be a leader takes risk. Soon after we moved to New Jersey, we took a family pilgrimage to DC. It was the first time we took our children there, and we spent all day looking at the monuments, and yes, it was cold, and yes, the children were complaining, and yes, they walked, and they walked, and they walked. And then if you have been to that beautiful mall of monuments, off to the side, for us, it was off to the right, we saw this gleaming white stone down near the water. Hewn from this white stone is a beautiful memorial for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. It says, "Out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope," which is from the "I Have a Dream" speech in 1963. And it's like that word has become stone and brought to the banks of the pond. You see Martin Luther King, who was born in 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, only 25 years old when he started working with the civil rights movement, only 39 years old when he was murdered in 1968. Of course, we know this story. Inspired by the revolution in India led by Mahatma Gandhi and working with other organizers in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, King and his colleagues made a commitment to nonviolent community organizing and broad-based community action to change our country for the better. They organized things like the Montgomery bus boycott. They were passionate speakers. They marched on Washington. But clearly, it was more than just being organized. Clearly, King had a call from God, a call from God that he was commissioned to carry out, to make our country more beautiful, more just, more fair. This is the inscription wall that the 14 quotes that you see tonight come from. The one that always strikes me is the one from the Gospel of Amos, where we let justice roll down like a waterfall. King's life was hard. He kept a grueling schedule. He was away from his family, often for months at a time. We know the stories of late night meetings and long days, stints in jail, and it was dangerous. Not only did he face tear gas and water cannons and police batons and jail and loss of reputation and attack, we know that he was murdered. But King inspired a generation of people to change the world. Not only did he bring about an end to separate seating on buses, but he inspired my friend Brooks Smith, who's a retired pastor from Plainfield, to register voters when he was a kid in college. He inspired my friend Bill Aber, who was a pastor in Pittsburgh. Bill had these really cool horn-rimmed glasses like this, and he would go and march, but he would take off his glasses so members of his congregation wouldn't recognize him when he appeared on the nightly news. Not only did he inspire people to take part in the civil rights movement, but he inspired a generation of volunteers, a renewal of hope and commitment, people like my mother who went off to the Peace Corps. And so our first question this evening, turn to someone next to you and ask the question, how has your life's story been influenced by the story of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.? So Brittany and I were talking a little bit about how a lot of the stories came from our parents' generation, and so I do just want to give a moment to our, we are in the Presbyterian Church ruled by elders, and I did just want to ask, for this table especially over here, what memories do you have of King growing up, and what was that like for you all? Let me just repeat a little bit of this, sorry, for the camera, because they're not picking up anything because I have the mic here. So Jim was recalling being a kid in school and following the civil rights movement very closely. They had a number of services throughout the week at his school and a Vesper service on Sunday, and it was part of their life together to follow the civil rights movement, and they were really impressed that he was following the works of Gandhi, and to see what they were able to do together using nonviolence. Anything else? Sorry. Yeah, so for a kid from New Jersey, right, Jim? So for a kid from New Jersey, Jim remembers traveling in the South and seeing really active segregation and just really being struck and really turned off by it as well. Anything else that you guys want to add? Dave?
I was in the Navy shipboard at that time, and so...
Hang on. Can I move it? These are such good stories. All right, Dave, sorry. I'm going to just pull you up. Would you be willing?
Oh, this is just short.
Oh, it's okay. But Jim's story was so good.
Well, mine's not as good. So.
All right.
Yeah, anyway, I was going to say that at that particular point in time, I was shipboard in the Navy over in, actually at that time, in Japan. And quite a few of the company of the ship, I was a surface ship, were black.
Yeah.
And so, and we had a great communications together, and I didn't see any prejudice at that time.
Yeah.
Nor that it did. I grew up a little bit sooner than Jim in school in Sioux City, Iowa, and we had black students there. Not many, but still very little in terms of of prejudice, but I was always impressed with Dr. King and his point of view.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So many people have talked about it together in the service. They felt like there was such camaraderie and really have seen that as a place of real integration in our nation. Thank you so much for sharing those stories. Chris, did you want to add anything? You'll let them. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Any other stories of inspiration for you all directly from Dr. King? Brittany shared a great story of going to the Memphis Museum where he gave his final speech and where he was murdered, and seeing the room where he stayed and just being really moved by that as a young woman in Memphis. Any other stories? All right, next up, we are going to think about, so I have this little story about being inspired. Jeff and I got married in 2001. And in October, and we immediately moved to New Mexico in January, and I was starting my teacher education program. Now, I am a little embarrassed to admit this. I had shockingly low expectations for my teacher education courses. I had friends who had gone through it, and they're like, you're gonna hate it, it's terrible, but teaching is great, you'll be fine. So I went into my first class with very low expectations. And I walked in, and if you knew her, you would know how powerful this is. But I walked into Dr. Liz Keefe's Collaboration for Inclusion class. And Liz has this great wiry hair that moves as she speaks, and she kind of vibrates. And she is so full of passion for the ways that we can work together as teachers in order to be more inclusive, how we can create communities that allow children to have voice, to have children to learn, to have children. And she told this great story about how if you really wanted to change the climate of your school, you should have a coffee pot in your classroom because everyone likes coffee. It's just fabulous. And I was absolutely blown away. And I will say that class with Liz inspired me and shaped me and helped me become the teacher who I am, and also fueled my passion for ministry and have helped me in my continued work in inclusion in the church. That class was amazing, and together with her colleagues, it was an amazing experience. So just share with each other, who have been those people in your life who really inspired you to the best parts of your life? And I invite you to interpret the best parts of your life any way that you want to. Who have been those people who've really kind of mentored you or showed you on a pretty personal level? So who are those people who've really inspired you over the years? Do you guys have anyone back here? Your father. That's really, really cool. And I've seen, he's Mike Moore too, right? Dan or Mike? He's Dan. Okay, Dan Moore. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So Mike just shared that his father was a physician, and during Mike's own training, he was able to do his surgical rotation with his father at Overlook Hospital, taking care of neighbors and friends that he grew up with. And a lot of people here at the church. What a lovely... They show you scars. That's a lovely way to remember someone. That's beautiful. How about these guys over here? So sorry, just really quick. Casey's dad was always inspired by this really good basketball player who is a point guard for the Cavs.
For the Celtics.
Celtics.
But they had him change it to Jones the Baptist. But I feel like, in that, we could say basketball player.
Absolutely. It's really cute because Jeff's dad also loved basketball. So you guys have that in common. I think the thing that's most important about King's story, he was only 39 years old when he died. And I think it's really important for us to remember every year at this time. You'll see over here behind Dave, there's this huge stack. Do you want to just hold one up? Because we might as well get started on the food drive. Dave, do you mind just reaching back and grabbing a bag? Over here, is a bag. We're getting ready for the Martin Luther King Day of Service that we're going to host here on the 15th. We're getting ready for a food drive that we'll hold for the Super Bowl. For adult hygiene, for adult diapers, which always makes me a little bit embarrassed to say, I'm not going to lie, but adult diapers are the need in our community right now. They're very hard for people to get, so we're doing a drive for that. But King's story is literally not over. I think one thing that's really powerful is that he inspired so many different people. And I know two groups that I've been very involved in, the Albuquerque Interfaith Council and of course the Summit Interfaith Council here. I've learned from many mentors and friends the work of King, and I've really appreciated being part of that ecumenical movement where we can work together to do things like collect adult diapers and feed the homeless and work to find shelter for people who can't find it. The work that we do together in our city is in many ways based on his example. So I want to ask the question about the persistent needs in our community that you feel drawn to change. So what do you see as your part of this continued legacy? And this is our last question. So what are some of those needs that we feel? We're actually just talking, we're talking about how Adam used to have to live in Sparta and commute 45 minutes? 45 minutes to get here. And we just talked about how hard it is to find housing in our area and what a big need that is for everybody and what a push it is, where you're having to commute long distances or it's really hard to find housing in our area. What's another need in our community? Jeff, what's your job? Are you a teacher? I'm a teacher. Excellent. Casey, what's your job?
Also a teacher.
Oh, is that a need in our community? Excellent. Good job. Yes. So education, huge need in our community. Mike, what's another need in our community? I'm expecting you to say healthcare right now, just in case you were wondering. Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. I love that. Mental health is huge, and actually, people with mental health issues are more likely to be victims of crimes, actually, which is really awful. They're very vulnerable to criminal activity. So thanks, Mike, for pointing that out, that there's a lot of fear and stigma around mental health. People think that people are dangerous, but the truth is they're more likely to be victims. Thank you. Thank you. Any other persistent needs in our community? Fantastic. So, at the beginning of the service, I asked you a question, which is, which star are you following? So, on this day, Epiphany, which is actually yesterday, we remember that we are following the star. And during communion, which is after our next song, I'm going to invite you to choose a star. My friend Marcy Glass does this every year. I think she started it, maybe someone else started it, but anyway, she gives you a star word if you ask for one. These words are actually all from her list. There are also blank stars. If you don't like any of the stars there, write your own. I encourage you to do that. In fact, we did this with confirmation earlier, and Rachel decided to choose a different word than was there, so I invite you to do that. My word this year is journey. And Marcy gave me that word, and I was like, how about that? Yeah, I think I'm on a journey. My boss is retiring. My kids are graduating from high school. Yeah, I'm definitely on a journey. Thank you. She didn't, she uses a random word generator. So this word is a gift from God for you, and it's also a gift from you to the world. And so I want you to think about it both ways. So think about the word, and then when you come up to one of the two tables as part of communion, look for a word that you gravitate toward, look for a word that inspires you, look for a word that is a gift for you, and you can think about it during the next song.